I wanted to share with you the closeness of two police officers, the closeness of Japheth Lando and Ben Gethi. Of course, where I come from, until recently, before I became known, where I come from, people knew me as JI-TENGE, son of Lando, JI-TENGE wa Lando. But everybody knows my three names. So in this episode, I'm going to concentrate on the two officers, Japheth Lando, my father, and Ben Gethi. They were age mates. If one was born ahead of the other or whatever, I think it's by a few months, if not years. It's just they are generally age mates. They were generally age mates. And I wanted you to know this in the sense that, of course, a lot of people know. When I go around, people say, this is the fellow who said that Ben Gethi shot karaoke, JM karaoke. The truth of the matter is that thing is known by very many people. The only difference between me and them is that I came out publicly. I came out publicly, and people used to talk about it in whispers. Well, if we have to measure the degree of the suitability of giving evidence, I would be very much far away. There are those who are more qualified to comment on that than me, by far. But then, for the reason that people don't want to talk it, people fear the repercussion or anything, that is how I just come in, by being the first person to come out publicly, so that in future people will quote me, and who knows, maybe those people who are more known, who know the truth more than me, they may come out. Or if they don't come out, if they are dead or anything, it is possible for them to have written somewhere. If it is not written somewhere, it is possible that they may have talked to somebody, and so on and so forth. Because in evidence, the nearer the person to the source, the better. So you could find maybe among those people who were in that room that time, there could be one who could come out, or who would let out the information either through written or through having told anybody else. Because somebody may come up and say, I sat with so and so and so and so, and he told me this and that. It is my hope and wish that such a thing happens. Because as a trained NIS person, we were trained that you should have three to five different sources of information. 3 to 5. Odd number, because if two say left and three say right, then you know which is better. If you have more, if you have 20 or 30 people, they may cloud your picture. So being the only one, I'm not comfortable. Because anything happening, and there are two or more people, they don't. If you see them talking the same thing, the only two people who can say the same thing exactly are two cameras. which are recorded simultaneously. But in human life, two or more people talk, there is an element of the story not being the same. If it is exactly photocopy of the other, then as a trained intelligence officer, believe that it is true, that it is a photocopy of each other. Someone may be seated somewhere, sending people to you, different people to you, to give you such a narration. So that is what I said. And this recording is, I'm trying to give my viewer the picture of who Gethi was to me, and what went through my mind that time. Some of the things people just see us going to TV station, going to the TJRC, telling things and whatever. Maybe they don't know what goes through our mind and the struggle we have. But I hope to convince you or to make you understand once you watch this video. Japheth Lando, my father, was stationed in Nanyuki Railway. But when the Mau became too much, he was transferred to Nyeri. He was transferred to Nyeri because of his ability to type. His ability to type. So he was staying at Mukuruini police station, but he was heavily connected with the statement typing. He typed a lot of people, including Dedan Kimathi, including Dedan Kimathi. So he is the one who and then again he was doing some duties which we call crime records. Crime records. Every police station usually has one very bright constable who knows how to file things. There is even some things which are coded messages which are sent to as quickly as possible to the inspector general. They are supposed to be sent within minutes of happening. They are called sitrep. Sitrep. Sitrep is a short for situation report. Now the situation report is, it has because of the uniformity of the sitrep, it is done in codes where you say, like I said, sitrep standing for whatever. Then now, nowadays we have things such as GBV, and then unajijazia, unajua that those are gender based violence. Then they say that around 4 GBV 4 whatever. So for an expert, there is a constable who is an expert who knows how to prepare it at the station, and it reaches inspector general within minutes, and the inspector general can decode that thing to a very serious, to a very detailed story. So that is what Japheth Lando was doing. He was very bright for the person of his level of education, and he was a constable at Mukuruini. Now, when he was at Mukuruini, he became friendly to a sub-inspector. Sub-inspector was later renamed acting inspector, but nowadays it is not there. You see the OCS has 3 pips, inspector has 2, sub-inspector has 1. There was a sub-inspector within Nairobi, probably within the vigilance headquarters, probably. Now this fellow, sub-inspector, whenever Japheth Lando found himself in Nairobi, either on duty or proceeding home on leave or something like that, you see, he used to pass through Nairobi, and he made sure that he would visit that sub-inspector, who was called Ben Gethi. Ben Gethi. So he would visit him, they would talk, and okay, for example, Japheth Lando is coming out of Mukuruini, coming to Nairobi for ABCD, or even bypassing Nairobi on his way home. He would go to, is it Kiamariga? Kiamariga or Kiamashibi, somewhere there. He would go there and meet the family of Ben Gethi, and he would tell them, I'm going to see your son. They would give him messages. Then he would go to Nairobi and deliver the messages to Ben Gethi. Now, on his way back, Ben Gethi would maybe do some shopping, maybe give him some money or anything, go and give it to my family in Madira. Then that is how my dad used to do that. Then they became friendly. And then time went. My father was returned back to railway police because the emergency was over. And even during the independence, around 1961, 1960, around 1960, he was working in railways, Nakuru. He was working in the railways, Nakuru. There was a domestic issue where he wanted to use a firearm. And he was my father, Constable Japheth Lando. Police officers tried to stop him. He discharged a bullet which took off the cap. He took off the cap of the chief inspector of the OCS, who was a Mzungu. And then after my father was subdued, the other thing was he was to be arrested, taken to court, and jailed. But the OCS, the Mzungu OCS, said no, he's not even going to take action against him because this is a very hard-working constable. I told you about records and whatever. No action, no criminal action will be taken against him. No disciplinary action will be taken against him. But the OCS just said, I want him out of my station immediately. That evening, my father was in a train. He was taken to Railways Nairobi, Mudhurwa. Taken to Railways Nairobi, Mudhurwa. When he was in Mudhurwa, the whole story spread, and the senior police officers realized that there was a closeness between sub-inspector. By then, he was an inspector around 1960. Around 1960, he was already, Ben Gethi was now not a sub-inspector, he was now a full inspector. He was told that there is this fellow, you are very close to him, and he was recognized police-wide that these are the Africans, the Africanization of the police, of the civil service. These are the people with you who would run the police effectively in future. But now he's about to go to Nini. Then Ben Gethi sat down with Japheth Lando. And when they sat down, he started advising him, unajua mwanamke asifanye uchukue bunduki ushoot watu, ungeua OCS, sasa sijui, such things, whatever. Kwani ulienda tu nyumbani na ukapick the girl you met next, or something like that. And then Japheth Lando, my father, told Ben Gethi that, the work of police, you are only given a few days off or a few days leave. You have no time to go and vet ladies and get whatever. It is a bit difficult for you to vet girls to marry. He said, no, there are good girls around. He said, which good girls? Okay, let me take you to a prominent medicine, a prominent clinic officer. Unajua, those days, anybody in the medical world used to be called, if it is a man, used to be called daktari. If it is a woman, nurse. You see, I'm sure even the first women doctors, people used to still refer to them as nurses. And male nurses used to be referred to as doctors. But Davidson Guboine Kuguru was in the medical field. So Gethi told Japheth Lando, let me go and introduce you to a daughter of Davidson Guboine Kuguru. So that is when they went back to Madira, Karatina area, and he introduced my father to my mother. Now, Ben Gethi used to think that my mother was a daughter to Davidson Guboine Kuguru, And even my father used to think so. And even when the time came for her to introduce for my mother to introduce my father to her people, she introduced him to Davidson Yofoine Kuguru. From what I was told is that when my father wanted to give a present, nobody has ever said what it is. He says that Davidson Kuguru told told me that he said that according to traditions, if the biological father around, is alive, then he cannot take anything from that. So give the biological father first, and then give it to me. My grandmother, as I've said in another video, that my grandmother was in a committee at that time with Mamangina. So her siblings took all her kids. They shared. Each sibling would take one kid. So Mrs. Kuguru, mother to Peter Kuguru, is the one who took my mother and adopted her as her child and educated her and all that. So when she grew up, people used to think that my mother was Kuguru's family. That is how it was. So it is Ben Gethi who introduced my parents to each other. In Kiswahili, they call it Mushenga. In Mushenga. So I've never met him. If I were to meet him, I would call him Mujomba because Luya, there is no other explanation. He's a Mushenga, but you see, he's on the side of my mother. So that is how they came to know each other. And then my father became so close to the family, such that the wife, Ben Gethi's wife, and Duncan Washira's wife are sisters. Ben Gethi married the elder sister, and Duncan Washira married a younger sister. Now, Ben Gethi was unceremoniously removed from the police service. It was because of the 82 coup attempt. That is in public opinion. Then Duncan Washira started having problems. Duncan Washira started having problems in the police because people are saying, the new bosses are saying this is a relative to the former commissioner. So he used to have a lot of problems. He rose up to the rank of PPO. He was the provincial police officer in Western Province. And then when he was a provincial, those are the people who were now ripe to take over the police force. But then people still were remembering that he's related to Ben Gethi. And then he was transferred. He left active service and was seconded to a ministry as a deputy secretary. And I told you that he knew, because of Gethi, he knew my father. So there's a time he met my father and told him he wants to resign. My father asked him why. He said, imagine being the PPO, because Northeastern used to act as a grooming position for people who want to head provinces or even districts. For example, if you are an assistant commissioner, you'd be made the provincial police boss for Northeastern. Then you'd be promoted to senior assistant commissioner of police, be taken to a more active station. Now he was the provincial police officer, Western Province, which is more senior than his deputy is the one who was the same rank as the provincial police officer, Northeastern. But then he was taken to one of the ministries as a deputy secretary. And when he was thinking of resigning, he was then transferred to Northeastern as a provincial police officer. I asked my father again if he would have an early retirement. My father advised him, and this advice my father gave him, And this is the advice I usually give to any police officer I get. Try to stay in the police service until you retire. And when you retire, don't look for a job. Just go and relax at home. So that is what my father told Duncan Wachira when Duncan Wachira had gone to take over Northeastern. And wonder of all wonders, Duncan Wachira was made the police boss uh, again. So in the same family, you find there are two police bosses, Ben Gethi and Duncan Wachira. And the funny thing is that in the same locality, Kanja, Douglas Kanja, the now Inspector General, is from the vicinity, and so is the head of is it called Kanyariri, the CDF, the head of the military. They all come from the same place. Now I have told you how this fellow is. It reached a time when Kibaki became the president, and there was need for a TGRC. We had a task force for a TGRC, and later on we had the same TGRC. And that thing used to disturb me. It still disturbs me. But then I asked myself, and that is the purpose of recording this, is to open up to people so that people understand what I'm going through. You see, people just know you. Oh, who killed who? You are seen on TV or seen whatever. But do you people really sit aside and try to reason what goes through my mind before, during, or even after? I remember during the task force for TGRC, headed by Professor Makau Mutua, I met Rosemary Karaoke, but I didn't tell her what I've already told people, because I believed that the best place was to give those people, and then those people deal with that. I little did I know that the TGRC and the task force were just for public purposes. Those are some of the things that we go through. You meet somebody, do I tell her or him, and even if I have to tell him or her, what extent do I have to tell? And then these people you are talking about, you see, Gethi is more or less like a maternal uncle to me. So you see, you at the back of your head, you see, she is more like a family member. And then you even go to other places of massacres, Wagala massacre, Lotri massacre, the other Nyayo House torture chambers. You find that, okay, let me give an example of Nyayo House torture chamber. I'm talking of people who are victims, whom I don't know. Okay, I've met some of them. I've met people like Wafula Buke, I've met Koigi Wamwera, I've met others. But others I don't know, I've never met them. And then these are the people like Njeri. Njeri, we were employed together at the same time in Kiganjo. She used to be a barmaid in Kiganjo town, and she was at Sadist and whatever. I know her. She's like a sister to me. We are so close. Yeah. And then you reach a place where do you disclose something about somebody who's generally a friend of yours? What he did bad to somebody you don't know, somebody you have never met, somebody you may even never meet. But then something comes up and tells me, my conscience tells me that I have stood with the truth. And not just stood by the truth, because maybe these people will come up and confess and admit. Okay, let us use the word admit more than confess. They can admit, they can explain the ways. I know they are going through mental torture. But you see, if these things people sit down on the table and disclose and discuss and they finish off, then you know that it is gone, and it is gone for good. And it is also good for all those who are affected. In my mind, we have intelligence officers who are suffering even today. They are my relatives professionally. I would want these things to be done with so that they stay that. Now, after giving out those things, there are some tricks that which were being used, I must say. Like when I was giving evidence before Gorsungu Commission, If you go to the Hansard, you'll find there are some places where I was saying, I cannot answer you that unless I have a lawyer. There's even a time when, or live on TV during the Gor Sunku Ouko Commission, I had to, during the Gor Sunku, I had to say some things which we had agreed with Gor Sunku. Yani he trapped me until I found myself saying so, of which I'll say it. I wanted to just say that there were two inspectors of police in the intelligence who told me about what happened in State House, Nakuru. And then I found myself disclosing their names, Wekesa and Kinyanjui. So you find, but there is this, the interview we had with KTN, two. There were two interviews I had with KTN about JM Karaoke, and also about Masinde, Fred Masinde. There was a pre-interview session, and even after the interview, there was also talking to me, and I can even tell you there are many times, and that is why I like the TV people. There are many times before even it is aired. I remember Dr. Kingori, NTV. I even remember something to do with Ouko's death on NTV. There was so much consultation. There was so much consultation to ask about my security. There was even a consultation. Are you sure this thing is going to, we have already advertised it. This thing is going to be aired. Are you still comfortable that we air, or even right now we can call it off? Even a few hours before such programs are aired, there is constant telephone communication. I want to thank both KTN and NTV for that. Yeah, it's good. I feel good about that. Among the people I've been consulting, in these issues, one is Police Constable Gethi. Police Constable Gethi, she's a granddaughter to Gethi. We talk. Hey, she's a very close friend of mine. There are even times we talk about nothing. Yeah. We whenever I meet her, I feel like as if I'm meeting a daughter to my cousin. And when she talks to me, she talks to me as if she's talking to. So, hey, watoto wanafanya, I mean, so much things we talk. Uh, then there was a time when I was going to talk about JM Karaoke, and I felt I should talk to her. I felt I should also talk to my father. I remember telling her twice or thrice that there's something disturbing, we had to talk. We talked. But I was not bold enough to tell her that I'm going to talk about your grandfather. Yeah, I remember. We talked everything. I said, I'm going to be interviewed by KTN, I'm going to be interviewed about JM Karaoke. But I didn't tell her that I'm going to be. There was that part of me which, when I would reach a stage where I wanted to tell her, I want to tell KTN that it is your grandfather who pulled the trigger. Something just stopped me from saying that. And then she was concerned, are you about your security, about what? She was even concerned about the fame. Yeah, being seen talking that, you'll not be like anybody who walks around. Uh, I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that here, knowing, she knew the whole story. She knew the whole story. Uh, of course, there are some things you don't talk, but I've always believed that women have got a seventh sense. When you talk to a woman, she's with you, but she's also at Pluto. She must have known that there are some things and maybe she was even giving me time to compose myself and tell her. But I can tell you that, and she knew that her grandfather was in that room when JM died. Whether she knew that he's the one who pulled the trigger or not, I don't know. But then I told her, but I avoided that part. I could not bring myself to tell her. I did. And then there was also this fear that suppose you tell her, we are very close friends. Don't you think she could even convince you not to mention it, or even convince you to alter it so that you don't give her grandfather a bad picture or something? There are so many things that went through my mind. There are so many things that went through my mind that I in the end I just didn't tell her. I mean, I just told her the whole truth except that essential part. Maybe she knew that there was something I was not telling. Most likely she knew, but we didn't talk. And then we had that interview. After the interview, uh, we met again. Oh God, she had this new new machine guns. People call them Scorpion. I can't operate that because it came after I left service. Where the bullets you can see, because the magazine is plastic, you can see the bullets there. We went. She was having that, and I just didn't know what to say. Actually, it is me who wanted to see her, and I just wanted to. There are those things, like even this shooting, these things. There's something I plan in my mind what to say, but then this is the time I wanted to meet her, but I didn't know what to say. I just said the topic will go there, and as we were talking, I was speaking words, beating about the bush, trying to find a way to come to the topic, because right in my mind I was asking myself, how does she feel? And as a family member, I was feeling that she would tell me that, have don't you think you have betrayed your uncle? That is what was going on through my mind. So it was just that way. And women, as I keep on saying, women know. You may pick story huku na huku, unakuta the lady tells you, sema kilichokuleta. So she just told me, uh, I asked her, how did you see the interview concerning your you did it great. You did it great. I didn't know that you are that good. Me, I felt, you see, she's a cop. I felt that is how cops are, to make you relax so that you confess. Eh? I hope criminals are not watching me. When you see, afadhali ile polisi anakuchapa chapa, yule anakuambia niambie sijui nini, hey, you will confess yourself and land yourself in problem. So I thought she was leading me to that. Then she told me, do you know something? I said, I don't know. You see, I allowed her to talk because, first of all, I didn't know what to say. Two, I was confused when she said you presented yourself well. Instead of getting somebody who was really mad, armed, and whatever, who would tell me, of all people, imagine. Imagine how my grandfather and your father kule wametoka, and my uncle, dad, my grandfather's, my grandmother's sister, husband, nani, that is what I was expecting. And you see, the only sentence I had crammed was imetoka, imetoka, sasa tufanye. But then she told me the main point. Uh, First of all, I knew from the word beginning that Ben Gethi never regretted leading his best friend to his death, and he never regretted having pulled the trigger. But the events of the August coup, the August attempted coup of 1982, he was so much on the side of the government that the government just dumped him. Then he changed his attitude. That is when he started regretting. That is what he started. And he called his sons. He called his sons and instructed them that when I die, you people must tell the whole world what happened. So she told me that She has not seen her family from the time when the program aired to the time we were meeting. Actually, we have met a lot of time, around 40 or 50 times. Every day, we can't complete a month without meeting. She has never mentioned about. We just talk generally. Family member. Actually, when we meet, eh, and you see, she's that type of now you don't work. Sasa so ngoja niende niangalie kwa pita kwa canteen, police canteen, wakupatie so much money I'll pay you. Huwezi niona na ukalala njaa. We relatives, when we talk, we just relatives. But what I gathered was that the way Moi government treated Gethi after the August attempted coup is when he decided that the government was bad, and that is when he started. If August 82 would not have happened, and if it happened and the government had acknowledged him, and the government did not turn against him, he may have died without regretting. But later on, he sat down with his sons and instructed them that he didn't want that thing to be known when he was alive. He didn't want them to be known when he was alive. He wanted it to be known after he's dead. And he tasked his sons to tell the whole country what happened. So here is the granddaughter telling me that actually you have lifted a very heavy weight from my fathers. I'm talking African language, not English. My fathers were supposed to tell the whole country what you have just said. So you have removed a weight from them. That is what she told me immediately, within days of the program being aired. From that time up to now, we meet, we talk, and that is a topic we don't even mention. But then that is the purpose of this program or this shooting, is to inform all and sundry of what some of us go through. Imagine somebody who is, for all purposes, is your maternal uncle, somebody who is whatever. But then the Bible says the truth shall set you free. And I've played my part. It is God sent, because the Gethi family, from what she told me, and she has been meeting her fathers, I don't think there is any different picture from that. The fact that the events of 1982 August led him to change his mind and look for a way to the whole country. Now, there's no mention of Karaoke's family, but you see, Karaoke's family is also in the whole country. That is what he wanted to say, and that is how it is. Now you know how you find people in the social media saying, "Oh, sijui unajua ulikuwa unacheka unasema eh, these people who killed JM didn't do a good job." So you are calling that as a good job? Yeah. But you see, let me say, okay, I was talking to who? I was talking to, if I'm not wrong, I can't really recall the topic we were having with KJ, but then KJ was telling me something where he's saying that it is a sniper's moment, When you are a sniper, you are only allowed to shoot once. You miss, you kill. There are three things. You can miss and you not have another chance. You can hit on the target and the target dies. Or you can hit the target but not in the important. So that thing, when people castigate me for laughing and saying, "Oh, hawakufanya kazi mzuri." First of all, we have some people, coastal people from Mombasa. They joke, they do whatever. You don't take them seriously. And then, like this, there is the ferry. You remember there is a ferry, Likoni ferry. No, not Likoni ferry. There's another ferry in Mombasa where people are overloading, and the pilot was telling people, bwana, don't overload, bwana. People are still going on. And he said, shenzi nyinyi, meli itaanguka mtakufa. And some people heard that. So he was arrested and was told, why did you say that? He said, then later the government discovered. So when you see people talking, don't look for the few bad things. If someone can even talk for an hour and give you 2 points that are very important or very educative, take that. So I just want to repeat, I think for how many times, that when I said that these people did not do a good job on JM karaoke, this is what I meant. When you want to assassinate somebody, there are some steps you take. You take him to the scene of assassination, and you also make a plan on how to dispose of the dead body. Now, if it is a torture that ends up in death, then that is not a job that was done well. Take an example of a former Bungoma Boys student like me, Jacob Juma. They made sure that he was out of the CBD. He was somewhere there in Ngong Road where there are no CCTV cameras. They made sure that it was in a forest where there are no people, such things. So for a job to be, for an assassination to be done correctly, you organize it in advance. You take the person to the place where you have to kill, and then from there, you organize on the disposal of the body, such and such a thing. If you don't do that, maybe you have to teach me a better terminology to use instead of saying that they didn't do a good job. I found it necessary to describe and define the relationship between the two police officers, Japheth Lando and Ben Gethi, who were not just friends, but for all purposes, one could describe them that they were relatives. And then from there, we kids who are born of them, we were the picture we come in, and then we find ourselves. And that is why I want you to understand what a whistleblower goes through. What a whistleblower goes through. People just take amesema na nini na vitu kama na mbona siku hiyo hukwenda kuripoti kwa polisi and whatever. Please understand us.